Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, if you snore or you have a partner who snores, you're going to want to watch this next segment. I'm going to talk about how dentists are coming to the rescue to help all of us breathe a little easier. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home. We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network. We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show. Well, the pandemic has taken a toll on all of us. It's especially taking a toll on teeth. We're grinding our teeth at night. We're snoring. A lot of us are eating unhealthily and putting on weight, and all of that is just messing up our sleep patterns. To talk about that right now, Dr. Adriana Corredor and Alex Kelly, both with the Stewart Center. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
I should say the Stewart Center is like internationally recognized. You guys actually train other dentists on how to deal with a variety of issues, including snoring.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I want to get right into the pandemic and how that affected your customer base, because I have to believe, I snore, and my wife will kind of give me one of these in the middle of the night and roll me over. Are you hearing more problems related to snoring?
Absolutely, yes. It's for a long time, and we hear people that snore, and sometimes and there's commercials or there's cartoons that talk about it being a funny thing, a humorous thing, but it's not. It's actually really important. It's a really, for some people, it's could be with their health, especially right now with everything so going on, this pandemic that we're living in, and people have really struggled to get through this. They don't sleep well. There's a lot of people that didn't sleep well before, but now it's even worse. And so at our practice, we're now seeing so many patients now coming in with more education or knowing now more about it, but looking for answers, looking for, they see it in their kids, they see it in themselves, and people want answers. People want to live healthier and feel better. And so, we're seeing an increase, and we have really been busy with patients coming and seeking us for help and a lot of them know what to do or what's wrong with them, but they know or they've heard. And now, with what you hear on the news and with all this information out there, that you can look at, you can go online, you can read on it, or you've heard, now with this pandemic, with the COVID-19, how so many people, it's attacked the respiratory system.
Sure.
And that's what the airway is. And so we need a good airway, and so we're here to support our patients in any way we can, but mostly to educate them and give them a direction and give them the advice and just be there to help them out.
Sure. Alex, you are an educator, and you're passionate about helping your patients understand that a CPAP it's a outdated machine. It works for some people, but it's not a permanent solution, and you don't want to be sleeping next to Darth Vader for the rest of your life, right?
Absolutely. A CPAP is just a Band-Aid for the overall problem. And as an educator, I would see a lot of times sleep breathing disorders, airway disorders have a lot of symptoms that come with that. And one of those symptoms that we see in children a lot is ADD, ADHD, because they are sleep deprived. So naturally their body is stimulating themselves to keep them awake, which is then diagnosed as ADD, ADHD. They're put on medication to help with that, but the medication in and of itself is a stimulator. So they're just feeding the fire over and over again. I would see students, I would have at least a handful of students in every single one of my classrooms with a 504 plan because of ADD and ADHD. And I worked for the Stewart Center years prior to becoming an educator, so I a lot of times was able to identify just from looking at a student, the sunken eyes, maybe a rounder neck, and be able to say they have a sleep disorder. They are not breathing properly, and putting them on medication is only going to make it worse. It was really, really heartbreaking to see.
Sure. We've got some video that we're going to roll, and I want Dr. Corredor to tell us what we're watching, because you guys have a revolutionary way to deal with this. Explain how it works.
So, it starts with the airway, with a good airway. You have to be able to breathe. We are, as human beings, we're nasal breathers. And yet we see so many people breathing through their mouth. But only if you breathe through your nose do you actually properly use what we were given, our tongue. Our tongue has to be at the roof of the mouth. And when the air goes in, if you are a mouth breather, the tongue drops down. And when it drops down, you don't, especially as a growing, developing child, you don't have that tongue, the muscle to expand the arches. And the arches is what houses the tongue, but that has either a positive or a negative impact on the airway.
Sure.
And our whole goal is to have a good size airway.
And so you guys will work with your patients and fit them with a little night guard, if you will, an appliance that helps widen their jaw?
So the way we want to be able to help patients to be able to get on a much, for their health, get them on a healthier path. For kids, whether you're a kid or you're an adult, if you have an airway issue, it affects you. So with kids, you want to get them early, because by looking at the problem and recognizing it, you can change their whole direction of growth to be so that as an adult they don't become a snorer. They don't end up with a problem with a sleep disorder, breathing issue. And so there are many ways to do it. But what we do differently is that we have ways of doing it non-surgically, non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical. The symptoms of an ADH patient and a child that is sleep deprived are exactly the same.
Yes.
And that is why so many kids get diagnosed incorrectly, because they don't look a step further. They don't look at their sleep issues or their sleep patterns. It's not recognized.
Sure.
And so as dentists, since we see patients every 6 months, we see that we are lucky to be able to see their growth and development, but also to catch it early and say,
Right.
okay, at a child at this age, you may need this type of appliance. So as an adult, you may need a different type of appliance. But our whole goal is to so for some people, we can cure the problem. For some people, we may be able to enhance it and make it a lot of a less bigger problem.
Sure.
But the whole goal is to get them to have a much healthier life. And right now, in airway, breathing is, something that we do, we don't even think about.
Sure.
You don't have to think about breathing, but yet it's so important, but yet it doesn't get recognized. And so, the appliances, we have different types of appliances that we use. We work with, we have a team, it's a collaboration. We work with ENTs, we work with myofunctional therapists. Myofunctional therapists will help the child or an adult to relearn what the tongue is supposed to be used for, because the tongue is so important. And those are little things that people don't understand or don't recognize or don't know.
Sure.
And so, but as dentists, we, that's in our realm. That is
Right.
our area of expertise. And
Sure.
so we have that extra insight, if you will, on that. And so that's why, as dentists, we should be recognizing this on a daily basis.
Sure, and in some cases, it can be a permanent solution. Alex, let's bring you back into this. It has to be so gratifying to hear from patients or the patient's spouse after you've helped them with their snoring issues.
Absolutely. One of my cousins is actually going through the DNA appliance right now, and I was with him last night, and I was just asking him about his experience, and he said, when I am not wearing my DNA appliance, I can tell, because I wake up the next morning feeling horrible. He goes, I sleep so much better now that my mouth is realizing, my tongue is realizing where it needs to be, and things like that. So yeah, it's very, very gratifying.
Well, there's even a phenomenon that I've read about called the sleep divorce, and that's the couple still lives together. They just don't sleep in the same bed, and that's horrible. That it's come to that, right?
Yes.
So it affects families. It really does. Let's talk about you want to talk about tongue and lip ties. Tell us more about that. Who wants to go?
Well, so the lump, like I was saying before, on a child, for example, there's a little muscle. It could be underneath the tongue. It could also be behind. That if a child has a tongue tie, then they can't train their tongue to do what it's supposed to do. They can't elevate it. So it's really important to have a palatal seal, a seal that the tongue forms on the roof of the mouth.
Okay.
And that, again, as humans, we're nasal breathers. But if you don't create that suction properly, then you can't breathe through your nose. And so as a result of that, there's a lot of people that end up with allergies. And later on, that can convert into asthma. There's a lot of health issues to that. And we think about, it's like breathing. We don't think about it. Tongue, it's something that we don't think about. But a myofunctional therapist can help a child to retrain that tongue on where it needs to go, how to swallow, where to form, where to put that tongue. And on an adult, the same thing. And so the lip ties, they can be released. It's a very, very quick, painless procedure. On a child, if it's done early, again, their growth and development will be enhanced. And on an adult, by releasing that, same thing, it helps any of the procedure that you do, any appliance, it will enhance, and so it would help with the treatment to to form again these craniofacial abnormalities that we see on a daily basis. That's what we're targeting. That's what we're trying to improve.
Sure. Alex, let's talk about teeth grinding, because I know when people are anxious or nervous, which we all are during a pandemic, we start grinding our teeth, and you add to that many people skip their dental appointment, just afraid of getting out of the house, I imagine. That leads to some very expensive dental work if you're not taking good care of yourself, right?
Yes. And if your jaw, Dr. Corredor, you might have more to say on this, but if your jaw is and your teeth structure is natural where it should be, essentially teeth grinding should not occur. If you're grinding your teeth, or at night if you wake up and you're tight and you can tell you've been grinding your teeth, if you have wear on your teeth and your natural teeth structure is not the norm, there's a deeper issue. There's a deeper issue there.
Grinding, as a matter of fact, is one of the symptoms for sleep apnea.
Wow.
It's a natural mechanism that our body does in order to wake us up to take a breath of air. So night guards, again, are a Band-Aid. So there's different types of appliances that you can address the issue, but it's more important to find the core of the problem, the source of the problem. Why is that patient grinding?
Sure.
And for a big percentage of patients that grind, it goes back to they're not breathing. They're not breathing enough. Their airways are too small. They're constricted. They're obstructing at night, and that's why they're grinding. And the stress just feeds into that.
Outstanding. We're almost out of time. So final thoughts. What would you like to leave the audience with?
Oh, wow. Well, we're living in a world right now with so much uncertainty, and this pandemic that has really hit 2020. I just would like patients to, look at 2021 coming as a new, a beginning. Let's get healthier. These children, right now that are in school, they're not so much targeted with this pandemic, but we want to get them so that they don't end up as adults with an issue like this. And so I'm excited. 2021 is going to be great. We are getting busier and busier every day. Patients are seeking for answers, and there are answers. You just have to look for them. But there are definitely ways to help you to live a healthier life. 2021 needs to be much better than this year. But I think it's an awakening. I think it's I've looked at it as it's an awakening for us to really look and look at what's going on and look at the problem and address it.
Outstanding. Yeah. You've both been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to put the website up so people can get in touch. It's drhalstewart.com. And again, they are the leading experts in the country. They actually train other dentists. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
You
Great
bet.
to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.